You scroll back to a family photo from 2 Thanksgivings ago. You're smiling in it. You don't remember smiling. You don't remember being there at all. Call this the presence gap. Your body shows up to the dinner. Your attention doesn't always get the invite. The gap between the two doesn't announce itself while it's happening. It only shows up later, in the space between a photo and a memory that should match it but doesn't. A guy at his cousin's graduation party nods along to a story he's heard 4 times. He laughs on beat, refills a drink, poses for 2 photos. An hour later, he couldn't repeat a single sentence of it. Psychologists have a number for how often this happens, and it's higher than most people guess. Harvard researchers pinged 2,250 people at random points in their day and asked what they were thinking about. Minds were wandering 46.9% of their waking hours, not just during boring stretches, during meals, during conversation, during the exact parts meant to matter most. The mind drifts almost half the time, no matter what's directly in front of it. This isn't a character flaw. It's closer to a default setting. The brain has a whole network that switches on specifically when a task doesn't demand full attention. Neuroscientists call it the default mode network. Familiar situations barely engage it. Novel, effortful ones do. And nothing feels more familiar than a family dinner you've sat through 30 times before. Family gatherings don't get an exemption from this. If anything, they load in extra tasks running underneath the visible one, who's not speaking to who this year. Whether that comment about your job was a joke or a jab. Whether mom noticed you didn't bring anyone this time. Managing all of that quietly eats the same attention that would otherwise be recording the moment. There's a reason this hits harder at family events specifically than at, say, a work happy hour. You've played your role in that room longer than almost any other room you'll ever sit in. The kid seat, the peacemaker seat, the one who left seat. Muscle memory runs the performance so smoothly that nothing new has to be encoded. You already know how this scene goes, so part of you stops watching it happen. Then someone raises a phone to take the photo. Researchers at Fairfield University found something called the photo-taking-impairment effect. People who photographed objects on a museum tour remembered fewer of them than people who simply looked. The act of capturing the moment quietly replaces the act of encoding it. The camera becomes the memory. The brain clocks out of the job early. Family photos run on the same wiring. The moment gets handed off to whatever device is holding it steady, and the brain stops bothering to keep its own copy. The phone doesn't stop at the photo, either. Pew Research found 30% of young adults use their phone at a recent gathering specifically to check out, not to add to the moment, to leave it without physically leaving the room. 1 in 6 said they simply weren't interested in what the group was doing. Another 1 in 10 said they used it to avoid a conversation entirely. It's worth separating this from simply being busy or stressed. Busy has an obvious cause you can point to. This is different. Full attendance, no obvious distraction, and still nothing sticks. That's what makes it harder to catch in the moment than ordinary distraction. Ordinary distraction announces itself. This one looks, from the outside, exactly like being present. A woman cries during her sister's vows at the wedding. She isn't thinking about the vows. She's running through the seating chart in her head, again, for the 3rd time. The tears are real. The attention behind them is somewhere else, 3 chairs down, next to the cousins who don't get along. A guy texts his girlfriend from the bathroom during his own birthday dinner, 3 tables away from everyone he loves. Not because anything is wrong, because the bathroom is the only room where he isn't performing anything for anyone. At the same dinner, someone else is doing the math on who's picking up the check. He's laughing at the toast with his mouth. He's counting place settings with his brain. 2 systems running at once, and only one of them makes it into the photo. Phones aren't even the whole story. Family gatherings ask people to run several versions of themselves back to back in the same afternoon. The version that's patient with the toddler. The version that dodges a question about the breakup. The version that laughs at the uncle's joke for the 4th year running. Switching between those roles takes real cognitive effort, even when none of it looks effortful from the outside. Psychologists studying task switching have found the switch itself carries a measurable cost, separate from the tasks on either side of it. At a family dinner, that switch happens every few minutes, all night, and nobody clocks it as work. A dad on the sidelines of his daughter's birthday party keeps his phone face down but half checks a work thread in his head. He's not looking at it. He's rehearsing the reply anyway. His daughter blows out the candles while part of his brain is still in a different building. None of this needs a diagnosis to count. The clinical version of checking out of your own life is rare. A real disorder, distressing, uncommon. The everyday version isn't rare at all. Watching yourself from slightly outside, feeling like a guest at your own event, shows up in most people at some point. Transient versions of it have a lifetime prevalence estimated as high as 74% of the general population. Loud rooms, old family roles, everyone half watching everyone else. It's a reliable trigger, not an unusual one. Add up the mind wandering, the phone, the muscle memory performance, the quiet bookkeeping running underneath it all. What's left over isn't absence exactly. It's presence with the volume turned down low enough that nothing sticks. The photo isn't lying to you. You were there, physically, in the frame, in the room, at the table. What's missing isn't your body. It's the part of you that would have turned that day into a memory instead of just a picture. That's why flipping through old family albums can feel less like remembering and more like being told a story about your own life. You believe it happened. You recognize the kitchen, the sweater, the year. You just weren't fully running the tape when it did. Every photo becomes a kind of alibi. Proof you showed up, filed away by a brain that had already checked out for the evening. Nobody in the photo looks like they're missing anything. That's the part that makes it easy to miss for years. Compare that to the rare photo where you do remember everything. The bad ones, usually. A funeral, an argument in the driveway, the year someone got the diagnosis. Those moments get encoded in full, uninvited, whether you wanted the memory or not. It turns out attention isn't handed out evenly across a life. It gets rationed toward whatever the brain flags as a threat, and the ordinary Tuesdays of family life rarely make that list. Which means the version of your family you actually remember in detail skews toward its worst moments. Those were the only ones that forced you to pay attention. The good years can end up thinner in memory than the hard ones. Not because less good happened, because good rarely demands to be noticed the way a crisis does. That's a strange trade nobody agreed to. This shows up in real time too, not just in hindsight. Ask someone how last Christmas went and most people reach for a single word first. Good. Fine. The usual. Ask a follow-up question and the details come slower, thinner, sometimes invented on the spot to fill a gap. That gap isn't dishonesty. It's a brain reporting back on a day it was only partially assigned to cover. This also explains a smaller, more specific ache some people carry. The sense that they were closer to a parent or a sibling in photos than they can actually recall being. The photo says close. The memory, when you go looking for it, comes up mostly blank. Both things can be true. Closeness happened. The moment-by-moment record of it just didn't get saved. That's the smile you don't remember making. It happened. You just weren't all the way behind it. None of this means the day didn't count. It means the day and your memory of it are two separate records, kept by two different systems. One of them is sitting in your camera roll right now, fully intact. The other one is doing its best with whatever scraps it managed to save. If any of this landed, there's more of this on the channel.